Hey there, welcome to another video. It's been a while since I've had an interview episode, but figured it was time, along with some other changes that I'm making. You may have noticed that it's no longer Brain Cancer Diaries, it's now That Cancer Life. In this particular episode, I'm talking to a guy named Steve Rubin, but the thing that really sort of interests me in him is sort of his take on diet and nutrition. It's a little bit different than mine. He is, I think, more into the alternative therapies than I am. I'm more of a hard and fast science guy, but he is supposed to be dead like myself, and so I figure there's something there, something to be learned. So I'm trying to keep an open mind and see what I can learn. Maybe there might be something helpful, and hopefully you get something helpful.
So I'm a New Yorker, born and raised. I live in Manhattan. I'm married. My wife and I have an awesome dog named Penny Lane. Beatles reference. I'm an avid music fan. I love sports. And before the diagnosis, I was an executive recruiter for about 10 years. You know, it got really bad to a point. There were a lot of recurrences. It started off on my right femur, and then it went to both lungs, and then it went to my left hip. Told, I had less than 10% chance to live. And I just remember like walking out of the office that day, they told me like, if you remove the nodules in your lungs, they're just going to keep coming back. All we have to offer you is a clinical trial with like a 30% success rate, I think it was, and painful side effects. And so I was stunned, just sitting there with my family and like, oh my God, the hospital doesn't really have answers. What do you do, right? I just turned 30. I was living in New York City. Business was going well. I was engaged to the woman I love. Weren't even married yet. And by the way, she stuck with me, which couldn't have been luckier. And then everything turned upside down. I get registered that like I was gonna die, but like you're like this, you have this problem that there's no solution in sight, and like you're being told there is no solution. But like I think I was very lucky that like I always had a sense of hope that like there was something, there had to be some way. So that's kind of what inspired me to start my website and try to fill in the gap, I guess you could say, for that role model, to be that guy who's like around my age. Not only how did I deal with trying to heal and a quest for wellness, but then also the other aspects of how do you figure out life in your 30s after cancer. And that's where I try to write sometimes about, what's it like going to a bachelor party when you're also afraid to have any sugar or alcohol, and you're disabled, and you don't know everyone there, and you're getting the looks, as you're walking up the stairs with your cane and it's creaking, or going to the winery with my wife and my sister and brother-in-law. And you're trying to have a good time and just enjoy the mood, but at the same time, can I drink this glass of wine? Like, if I drink this glass of wine, is this going to lead to like complete chaos inside my body? And trying to navigate those things and the vulnerabilities and the feelings, and that's the approach I've tried to take.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, we both should be dead, and yet we're not. So I am really curious what you feel has helped you sort of beat the odds, so to speak. I think you had written in a post recently something about some dietary choices. I think there may or may not be scientific evidence to prove that it's helpful for you, but it can't hurt. I've read some of your posts. The one that really stuck out to me was the fact that you drink upwards of 160 ounces of fluid a day, which just blows my mind.
My wife and I drink a lot of water.
And I can't drink anymore. And I just start going to the bathroom so much that I just can't deal with it.
There is the bathroom piece for sure.
So my
definitely catches up with you.
My hat's off to you for really committing to that habit.
Like, I definitely want to keep it real, that especially in my writing and like during interviews like this, where of course I'm trying to put on my best face possible, but behind the scenes fighting cancer is not easy at all. There's tons of trauma. It seems like every month there's something, anytime there's an ache and that kind of thing. I've had so many recurrences that it seems very realistic that it could be something. And a lot of my healing regimens of like what's gotten me this far, I don't want to screw that up. I was told I had less than 10% to live. I've had 4 or 5 recurrences. I'm a bionic man, essentially. And I'm so lucky to be here talking to you today. And part of what got me here is also what I want to start sharing, some of the process when I was swimming in the dark after that 10%.
Now, if I can listen to my gut and what I understand of sort of clinical studies, the science behind all this nutrition stuff and cancer, I probably wouldn't be open to listening to many of these things, but judging by how little is actually known about cancer and cancer treatments and things like that, I figure it's worth at least not throwing out the baby with the bath water, so to speak. There very well maybe some very helpful things to be learned from talking to a guy like Steve. Maybe not cures, but things that can certainly improve quality of life.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I've been lucky that throughout all of the tumors and nodules that I've had, I'm very blessed that they've been operable. And so being able to get them out has been able for me to really try to flood my body with nutrients and then to try to detox as much as possible, with the goal being that over time, you start to wear down a state of disease and inflammation, and you just really try to strengthen your internal system as much as possible. And I think that's the general strategy or the general mindset that appealed to me, was to try to create an internal environment that's as difficult for inflammation and disease to thrive. I started dabbling with plant-based eating, staying away from meat, although I'm not, full blown. I will, balance, and I had to learn that the hard way because I'm a perfectionist. And I had another recurrence when I was being so perfectionist. I think the stress counters any effects that you can have through nutrition. But I started with plant-based, and if you're unfamiliar, a documentary, I think it's on Netflix, was Forks Over Knives. Again, I know there's mixed feelings on some of these things. I just try to use my gut. I just tell what feels right to me. I'm not preaching it's like the law, but that's my story. The other thing was, I know sugar is a hot topic. I don't really touch sugar itself. I don't have a problem with sugar. I have a lot of fruit, a lot of natural sugars, but added sugar, I think, can have a lot of harmful diseases. If I have added sugar, I just picture it's spreading these cancer cells like a wildfire.
Will say is that whether or not there is any sort of cancer sugar connection, I mean, it's do I really want another disease on top of what I'm going through? It's that in itself is pretty unpleasant. There are a lot of benefits to sort of quality of life by sort of focusing on dietary things, just to sort of help you out, put you as strong of a place as you can be to deal with life with cancer or after cancer, however you want to phrase that.
I did a lot of research, and if you've done any research, you know that online it's just exhausting. Everything's conflicting. But I tried to find a few areas where it's okay, but even people that are kind of pissy, they're not knocking it. No one's saying avoiding added sugar is bad for you. So I was okay, I'm going to start there, because if there's even a chance that it's going to help my situation, or if in order for me to survive, I have to be as perfect as possible, then I wasn't going to leave anything on the table. But that's kind of the mindset. Flood my body with nutrients, detox a lot, and really try to optimize all factors. So every day I try to work as hard as I can. I call it earning my health, and I try to stay disciplined to doing everything I can every day while not going completely nuts mentally. If I want bread, maybe I'll do Ezekiel bread, because it's not the blood sugar levels aren't gonna rise as quickly. Or if I want a snack at night, I'm very lucky that my taste buds have changed over time, and I can have, I know this sounds crazy, but I can have a Lindt 95% square or something like that. And I show it to Corey or to my friends, and they're this tastes like cardboard. But to me at this point, it's the greatest thing ever. And so you kind of find your ways, your body changes over time, you get used to it. The benefit obviously is that you're eating such clean things all the time, drinking a lot of water, which we were kind of talking about before this, and that helps you feel good. And so I listened to my body, and I do that. And I started meeting with different holistic doctors. A big part was, do you know what a colonic is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you don't know that, they kind of help get a lot of the toxins and a lot of the stuff that's inside you out of your body. After chemo, my functional medicine doctor recommended I do that. It's kind of in line with something called a coffee enema.
this is definitely venturing into some territory that I know that some people have like question marks,
Yeah, sure.
simple feelings about. Like for me, like I kind of believe that like if you feel like it's helping you, then it's helping you, because it's helping your mind feel better, which I think in turn makes you feel better. And you know, maybe there's something to it, maybe there isn't something to it. I didn't ever think of it as you know, alkaline or not, but I eat a lot of green leafy vegetables, especially lately. And I will say that my recent blood labs for the first time ever came back all normal ranges, which has never happened
nice,
in the last 2 years. I never thought of it as alkaline. I just thought of it as like, hey, I'm eating good food, like, or healthy food.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, like looking into acupuncture for nerve things. I don't know if there's anything to it, but like it can't hurt, so I'm just gonna try it. So I think the only place where I get into it is like where people get so extreme about it that they are kind of hurting their health or hurting their quality of life in terms of what they're doing. It doesn't sound like you're necessarily doing that. You're trying to be as smart and sensible and realistic as possible, and just doing all the things you can that aren't going to conflict with your particular cancer protocol.
I think you raise a great point. Again, let me reiterate, I'm just telling what I do. I'm not preaching that these are like what you have to do. I'm just sharing my story, right? Even when I speak to the holistic team at my hospital, they kind of advise me to watch out for this stuff. I have family members who've tried colonics and stuff and they did not go well. So, you know, you got to use your own judgment. The other thing to remember is I did the more traditional path first. And I think that, like, I remember when I was first diagnosed, you're just so scared. And you're like, what these doctors are telling me to do, I got to do it. And I was happy to have somebody point me in the right direction. And so I tried that. But then chemo didn't stop the cancer from coming. And so at that point, I had a little bit more freedom, I guess you could say, to be like, I have less than 10%. Like, I got to fucking think outside the box. And I got to try some shit that the doctors aren't telling me because, you know, I got to make something happen here. So I was nervous, sure. And, you know, some worked better than others, and it's constant trial and error. But I think that's the mindset more than the specific treatment that you want to develop. You know, you got to be on top of it, and you got to listen to your gut, and you got to kind of craft your own path based on what makes sense. But you go for it and you keep trying and you take it one day at a time. And within the confines of what you're capable of doing and what your mind and your body can handle, you keep pushing it.
Doctors really don't have all the answers when it comes to cancer. I mean, they can make a lot of really prudent and wise suggestions. Well, ultimately, everybody reacts differently. I mean, I have a friend who went hardcore full keto and had a lot of problems.
Yeah, sure.
And then he moved on to RSO, Rick Simpson oil, and all that had a lot of problems. Didn't work for him. He did other things. He actually focused a lot on sort of mindfulness and meditation, got really into secular Buddhism, and wound up living for 7 years when he was only supposed to live like a year. And so that worked for him. You know, for you, what you're doing is obviously working for you, or at least you feel, like I said before, you feel like it's working for you, so then it is working for you. And maybe this will piss a lot of people off, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it is kind of the way I feel. I feel like the people that I know who have died from whatever cancer it is they have, it feels like they reach a point where they've kind of accepted that this is the end. And so then it is the end. I've known now like 6 or 7 people who have passed away with different types of cancer, and that does seem to be the one thing that all of them shared in common, where they were just sort of tired of dealing with it. It was time.
Yep.
Now, before any of you get too pissed off at me for saying that, maybe it's the case with some folks that they kind of give up through the end, but I think ultimately it's all about sort of the science of how cancer works, which is in a very unpredictable way. We really don't have much control over how things go, and so I apologize to anybody that I offended with that.
I have, in the last 2 or 3 months, really focused on how well I eat. What is the nutrition I'm putting in my body? Am I getting, sort of a well-rounded diet with lots of nutrients? I think all this stuff is very important. I think certainly 2 years ago, I wouldn't have thought like that. I'd just be like, I have cancer. I'm supposed to die in 40 months anyway, so who cares? I might as well eat
Look,
it.
man, when I was going through treatment, for the record, I was having burgers and fries. I was having pizza. Because they tell you to keep the muscle on, right? So Corey was making me ice cream sundaes every night just to keep up my weight. I gained so much weight that I looked like another human.
80 pounds
I
gained.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing, but you do the best you can. I mean, we don't have all the answers. We're all trying to figure it out as we go. I think there needs to be some self-compassion, that it's hard. There's no perfect answers. If there were, we wouldn't have differing opinions. There wouldn't be so much unknown and uncertainty. People would know their things. So I think we're trying to figure it out, best we can.
And I think that's really important thing to say, is that I think that, anyone who has gone through like a terrible health prognosis or diagnosis will learn soon that everybody has an opinion.
Oh yeah.
And everybody to a certain degree is wrong.
They're always walking on eggshells.
Kind of the same advice I give to people who have kids. It's like, everybody who gives you parental advice is wrong. It's like, you'll figure out your own way, what works for you. And if you
it's always so heated. And I always I do the best I can to try to keep everybody's perspective, to be empathetic, because I know how scary and how crazy going through cancer is, and how heated you can be, and how frustrating it must be too. Like if you're going through a situation and you don't necessarily feel that something that's being pitched is working for you, or maybe you've heard something bad, and there can be manipulative people. I totally get it. I do the best I can to not cross that line, but you notice it. There are people who let they do not agree with different approaches and different philosophies, for sure. And that was one thing I learned after my latest recurrence, which was in my left hip. I was so stressed out and being so perfectionist. I mean, you hear what I'm saying about all this nutrition stuff and just how intense I kind of take it. And it's a lot of pressure. It was having, negative effects on me. So, I remember speaking with actually the holistic doctor at the hospital, and he kind of reminded me that it's like, there's the whole gamut of things that you need to take care of. You need to get enough sleep so that your body can heal, right? You need exercise. You need stress management, whether that's meditation or whatever you do. Joy. That for a while I struggled with that, because I felt like I didn't have permission to be happy, because I'm like, I need to figure out how to save my life. I can't just take a break. Cancer's not taking a break. These cancer cells are trying to kill me. They're not taking any days off. So there was always that insane pressure. And then I realized you have to kind of cultivate the entirety of everything, nature, and just getting outside and kind of healing from all angles. I don't think any of those are going to be a magical bullet. Like if you have a situation where it demands surgery or it demands, some real serious treatment, I'm not trying to discount that. But I think just generally that's what's kind of appealed to me. So a few things that I've come across that my functional medicine doctor suggested, and I found them work well for me, right? One is pretty basic, and a lot of people have probably heard of the magnesium, right? And so you take these before bed, and my dad was almost it was like drugs or something. He was laughing at how quickly he got drowsy. And this is completely natural. This brand happens to be pure encapsulations, because I always check ingredients. And I try to make sure that everything's as clean as possible, like as little ingredients as possible, and then try to avoid those chemicals and the fillers. That's another suggestion I would just say to the average person who's watching this, that when you're going for food or, you're ordering in, like, I always check the label right away. I check that first and foremost. What's the added sugar? Because they may not be completely clear about that. You can't trust the marketing labels. I look at the facts, and I make a lot of decisions based on that. But so magnesium helps you calm down at night, and that's kind of like part of my nightly routine. My doctor told me about this. They're called HPA axis, daytime maintenance, and then there's another one called sleep. And you pop like 2 of these in the morning with your coffee. They don't have drowsy effects, but they're kind of adrenal support, and they're a whole bunch of natural things, from organic oats to ashwagandha, milky seed extract, different, things. I know it gets a little technical, but the bottom line is it kind of helps you counter some of the coffee. For sure, check. None of these are magic bullets. These are just things that like hopefully can make your day a little easier. If you try them, you don't have to like them. This is fairly common, but like apple cider vinegar, right? Mm-hmm. This is Bragg brand. Mm-hmm. And I take like a shot of this with maybe a splash of water a day. Corey for a while has been doing a morning drink first thing in the morning, where she makes a cup of hot lemon water. She'll put a splash of the ACV and then maybe a slice of ginger. And that's like a really great way to cleanse your body first thing before you put anything else in it.
Have you ever done an apple cider vinegar bath?
No, I never heard of that.
My friend Ilene Kaminsky, breast cancer, metastatic breast cancer patient, but and she writes a lot of poetry and really talented at that. She is a bit of a unicorn too. I mean, she is a 6-year survivor with metastatic breast cancer, so she's not supposed to be alive either.
Amazing.
But she attributes a lot of her wellness to the fact she does it like pretty regularly.
Do you know digestive enzymes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's also super important, because the point of enzymes is that they help you absorb the food. So you could be having great salads, or you could be having vegetables, but if your body's not actually absorbing it, which happens for a lot of reasons, then you're not really getting the full benefits. So take a lot of enzymes, before a cheat meal or a bad meal, and then you could always take a splash of ACV, a shot of that, maybe 15 minutes before your meal, and that's going to balance out your sugar levels. So that, when you have those, if you have a donut, or if you have, some tomato sauce with added sugar in it, it's not going to go as harmful to your body as it would have, because it'll be countered. And then this is the last thing I wanted to share. I came across this in my research. It's called Barley Power Green Supreme. And these things basically just help with a lot of alkaline. They have beta carotene, chlorophyll, antioxidants, a little bit of magnesium, and live enzymes. And I take like 15 to 20 of these a day.
Wait, what? I'm not quite ready to make that kind of commitment to daily pill intake. So more power to Steve for doing that. And who knows, maybe I should be like Sean Connery and never say never.
Like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have even considered something like acupuncture or Reiki. Like, I have a friend who's a Reiki master, and she just did some sessions for me.
What do you think?
I don't know if it helped. It didn't hurt. So I don't know. I want to believe.